Don Berube from 135 River Road.
Kim McDaniel, Select Board Rep.
Carrie Mackinnon, Community Development Director.
Jess Duke, 50 Brown Hill Road.
Kristen Hayden, 2 Colonial Terrace.
Levi Berry, 19 Lowell Drive.
Ben Davis, 9 Wheeler Road.
Michael Lawton, 3 Asa Drive.
Sandy Crystal, 1 Shoreview Drive.
Dawn Feringo, Land Use Assistant.
My mistake, cut at 7:30.
Just in time, we're just done. All right, public hearings. Rehearing of application 503-24, S3AK Trust, modification of subdivision application 503-05 to remove condition number 3 stating that no construction activity which requires a building permit occur beyond the limits for grading and disturbance as shown on the plan of the new lot located off South Bull Road, map 27, block 3, lot 30I, zoned rural.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Actually, I got a couple quick things I want to go over before you start. First, might not even pertain to the applicant here. But I do want to say some of the stuff going on Facebook, I'm glad that's not out of my feed, but it's been shown to me. And I'm sure people know what we're talking about, that, degrading other part of Bowes government here is just wrong. We are all volunteers, they're not paid positions. If you want to make an impact to what happens in this town, get on a board. That's what I did. I wasn't happy when things were going on in the I-2 zone back in 2006. I got on the board and I've made a difference. This stuff of the high school games playing is not good, and it really needs to stop. These people work hard for this town and it's thankless. So with that, we'll move on.
Appreciate it. Okay, so for the record, I'm Pat Panciaco. I'm here tonight with Eli and Raquel Larriman, SAC 3AK Trust. And they own the property at tax map 25, block 3, lot 30-1. It's located in the rural district where single-family homes are permitted. So as you know, I wrote to council and I believe, spoke with you. I requested that all the reports that we have prepared be shared with you ahead of time so that you would have a chance to absorb them. They weren't too long.
I had a lot of reading this week.
Okay. So I'm going to let them provide a lot of the testimony. I've asked them to do the reports and then to kind of abbreviate them because we don't want to be here all night either. After they provide their credentials, they'll give you a short explanation of what their findings were. And we're assuming that the board will have questions and you'll ask them directly. As stated in the public notice, the hearing is here. It's being held to allow the planning board to revisit my client's request to reopen an application that was approved in 2005 that resulted in the 2006 plan being recorded. And we're asking the board to look at condition number 3, whether it should be modified or removed entirely, as ordered by the HAB on October 1st. While the planning board's notice of decision stated there wasn't enough evidence to reopen the application, the HAB did disagree. They felt the evidence submitted exceeded the expectations that the Supreme Court has put out there to reopen an older application. And you'll probably hear testimony tonight that will sound familiar that you may have heard before, although we realize this is a unique request. So before providing that testimony, I'm going to give you a little bit, overview of just the general facts quickly. I do want to emphasize that the question here tonight is very narrow. It is whether condition 3 was reasonably within the planning board's authority, or did it go too far? I bring this up because the hearing tonight is not about the CUP. It's not about the pond or the wetland impacts or anything of that sort. And I would refer to the area there where the home was identified to be located as the single-family area that's shown right on the edge of South Bow Road. Let's see, what else have I got here? In the prior hearings, we did hear laborious testimony about those topics, and I would respectfully request those be reined in because they really aren't relevant to the request that we're making here tonight. So, the application requested that the 2005 of underlying approval submitted by the Wotzel family be reopened. After the family had acquired Lot 30I and 30H, they merged them together into a single parcel. They logged the parcel and then they decided to re-subdivide it again. So in 2005, they submitted a subdivision application and requested it be re-subdivided, but in a different configuration than it was in 1978 when the original lots were approved. Carrie, do you have that plan? I think that might be helpful to have up there.
Number one?
Yeah, I numbered them today when I sent
And
them to you.
then just let me know if you want me to zoom or move to certain areas.
If you can move it over, it's highlighted in yellow. Condition 3 is the condition that we are focusing on. It says that no construction activity which requires a building permit occur beyond the limits for grading and disturbance as shown on the plan of the new lot. So that basically said, you can put a house in the front and you're not getting a building permit for anything else. Yet the chart on the front of the plan, and that's right above the notes there, it says Lot H has 2.25 acres, 2.18 are buildable land, and 0.07 acres are not buildable. It says Lot I, 17.99 had buildable acres, and 6.95 non-buildable. If you slide it a little more over to the right, Carrie, nope, the other way. See the pink there? That's the area, approximate area where I believe that the family was proposing to build a new home. So although the wetlands and the wetland buffers were shown on this plan, there was no definition anywhere defining the term buildable. But by using the term buildable, the only logical inference was the definition was the one the town used, which is found in Article 3.02 of the Bow zoning ordinance. That's an interesting definition. Buildable land includes the total land area of a lot, except land and slopes in excess of 33%, or ledge, which is exposed or lying within 4 feet of the soil surface, or wetlands as defined in the ordinance, or land which is subject to easements, and now I'm paraphrasing, land necessary for aquifers, land of such a character that cannot be safely used for building purposes because of danger to health or peril from fire, flood, or other hazard, or use which would tend to increase the danger to health, land subject to flooding, land with unsuitable soil or inadequate capacity for individual sanitary sewage disposal systems, land in the floodplain district. And it goes on and on. No, that's actually the end of it, in the marshes. So, sounds to me almost like all land in New Hampshire, but that's how your ordinance defines buildable. So with that in mind, the application was submitted in April 7th of 2005, and these dates are important. Before the notices were sent out to the abutters, Central Regional Planning reviewed the application for compliance with your zoning ordinance and your subdivision regulations on April 22nd. And all of this is in the certified record and taken from the files. After the comments were addressed by Central Regional Planning and they issued their report, they went to the town planner. And the planner resolved some of the shortcomings with the consultants and a public hearing notice was sent out. Very little happened in May, but on June 2nd, the board accepted the application as complete. During the July hearing, an abutter by the name of Rosado appeared and complained to the board that the area where the pink area is, there's a right-of-way going through there that interfered somehow with building a home there. And that the right-of-way would be blocked. Others complained about flooding and wetland. After the family heard all these comments, they pretty much threw in the towel and they changed the plan. They came in with a revised plan just in time for the August 4th hearing and showed the house along the frontage of South Bow Road where it is shown today, right there. The planning board was concerned about notices to abutters because it was a new plan. And that, whether it was substantial change or not, they wanted to be sure notices were sent out. So they continued the hearing to allow the notices to go out. They resumed the hearing on September 1st. But in the interim, between the time that plan was submitted and the first plan was submitted, there was no reviews, nothing. Nothing from central planning, nothing from staff. The hearing on September 1st opened at 8:11. It closed at 8:12. There was nobody there. After the representative of the family talked about the setbacks and, explained that the abutters had been notified. But they had nothing else to talk about, so they closed the public hearing. The planning board began deliberations, and during those deliberations, after the public hearing closed, and of course you can't say anything then when the board's deliberating, that's when condition number 3 came up. And that was when it was proposed as a condition of approval, that there would be no further improvement other than in that front little spot where the house is shown. But ironically, there's not one test pit, there's no 4K area, there was no questions ever asked about whether a house could even be built there. That doesn't comply with 6.01 of your ordinance. That's an illegal lot if you look at just that little piece. And the experts are going to explain to you why, all the evidence of why you can't build upon it. So, planning board may recall when I was here last, it was February 20th. And member McDaniels, you asked me, or actually you told me, I should say, you said, you need to tell me what the planning board did wrong and where they made a mistake. Do you recall that? I don't know, but I sure do. Now, while that is not the legal burden to reopen a prior application, that was the mistake. Nobody ever asked if that was a practical solution to put a home there. I don't even think your regulations require the 4K areas of the test pits. They just say, comply with the state rules for a septic system. In fact, and you'll hear why, that little patch of land doesn't even come close to qualifying to accommodate a single-family home or a septic system. So the net effect of condition number 3, after all the environmental setbacks are applied and the building setbacks, is a whole lot of nothing. Because you also have a strip coming across on the frontage that was being dedicated to widen the road. There's 2,633 square feet of land that is not buildable because the whole thing is ledge. And it does not comply with your own definition of buildable land in your zoning ordinance. So we are not suggesting, nor have we ever, said that the planning board did this intentionally, but it had no authority to say you can't use the rest of your land because we're gonna let you put a house out front. It's not quid pro quo. Your job is to balance the private property rights against the public needs by applying your regulations. And the net effect of condition 3, which was done, like I said, after the public hearing was closed and nobody could say anything, is it denied an otherwise reasonable and allowable use of the land for a residential home. So with that said, after our experts testify about the physical characteristics of that piece of land in the front, and maybe we're hoping you're gonna reconsider the suggestions about building a smaller home, and you'll see why this has come back. We don't think you did this intentionally, but when we lean too much to one side of that equation in balancing public and private rights, this is kind of the outcome. So with that said, I think what we'll do is, if we could have that test pit plan, the next one, Carrie, and Jacques Belanger is gonna address that.
Can we ask where you guys are after you read everything before we spend 2 hours listening to people tell you the same thing that was in those letters? Okay,
I can tell you where I'm at anyways.
No, I'd like to
other
have the
boards go.
testimony go in before they,
absolutely. Okay.
no, I want to have them here. I think it's important. So we gotta make room for Jacques
I
to,
can squeeze at the end here.
can you do that? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
All right, good evening, I'm Jacques Belanger, I'm a surveyor that the Learmans brought on board in '22. They brought me in to initially locate some wetland flags and start putting together a base map for the property. There was a survey that was done. My name is on that just because I was helping Morris Foot finalize his plans and getting, he was retiring and he didn't renew his license. So I was working on the boundary fat just to help him get that plan finalized. So what we did is we got ourselves orientated, located the wetland flags on the property, tied into the boundary. We brought in some LiDAR topo for the entire lot and sent that off to John Roque, the engineer involved with the project, to work up a driveway location and crossing plans. In October of '25, over the course of this, we've done a few test pits out back. We've looked for an area to build a home. You know, and we found plenty of room out back to work. In October of 2025 is when we put together this small presentation plan here, which is the pocket that's out front. We did a total of 12 test pits in and about that area that was supposed to be designated as the buildable pocket. And as you can see, we didn't put the complete logs because there wasn't much to say about them. We got a couple that are 14 inches, 12 inches, 15 inches was a good one. 6 inches, there just wasn't any receiving layer out there. Shallow to ledge, just nothing to work with. And off to the left side, we actually have areas where there's a exposed ledge, it's sticking out of the ground. And even out towards the back, wandering out back, you're starting to get exposed ledge on that property. So like I said, we did the 12 pits on that property. Couldn't find any receiving area in that area. But again, we had found suitable area on the north side of the property, on the other side of the wetlands. DES does let us build land as a receiving layer, but the problem is we gotta have 18 inches minimum of original material to start building up with. We can't just start with bare ledge, start building receiving layer. We've gotta have a natural material, natural sand, natural material to work with. So that area just by itself in the front doesn't meet the requirements to put a septic system. Our better pits are closer to the road. It gets into that winding dedication, and the grading just doesn't work, even if they were to force something in there. And that's not a large home we depict on there. That's a modest 2-car garage. It's not what you might see as a typical home being built in Bow at this time. From there, we got we put together the timber harvesting plan, which, I'm sorry, there was a plan that was prepared. That's a timber harvest plan. The area in the front, on the left side, was a previous plan. I don't know which owner had put together before Lehman's, but it was designated as unproductive land, and that is being generous. It's very poorly drained soils, exposed ledge, rock. There really isn't anything that's usable in there. And that's their unproductive area, and that's all they're really showing on that. And the rest of it is the access road that's, I guess, is going out with the 2 crossings that are in place that have been approved to a staging area out back for a logging operation.
Could you explain for those who don't understand, Jacques, what receiving layer means and just the separations, like if you're looking at a septic system?
Sure.
Because I'm not sure everybody knows how those are put together, just to be
Sure.
clear.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean-
you.
Yeah, basically, we've got our ledge, and our receiving areas are natural material above the ledge. I think we're allowed to count, a couple inches of loam that might be there, and the sandy loam below that to the ledge. We'd need at least 18 inches of that natural material as receiving area for the septic system, with the fluids, the liquids from the septic system, hit the ground and dissipate out. So you need 18 inches of that natural material before we could build up, again, up to 3 feet minimum to start building a septic system on top of that. So even with 3 feet, we're looking at 5 feet from that ledge to the top of the system. And then you go with either pipe and stone, enviro tubes, whatever septic system they decide to go with. There are a lot of different options available now, but they get you reduced sizes, but still you can only go so small. You still need a receiving layer to take care of your home needs.
What was the depth to ledge in the pits that you did, or average?
Average, I'm guessing maybe 10 inches. We've had, I can see from here, one it's 10, one's 12, one's 15 on the right, 12, 12, 12.
Scroll down, it's indicated on the plan.
Oh, yeah, there's a, okay, 11.7,
That's the average when they're all added together.
yeah. And that's looking at a couple inches of loam, leaf matter on top, and even the ledge, that's, by the time we got through any type of fractured ledges, that's the hard, smooth surface.
And that's where the natural material had to stay in place, 18 inches, but
We would need 18 inches to
and you
start
didn't
with.
even have that.
We never met that. In the pits that we had done that day. And they're not guessed located, my crew came out after we dug them and we located them with the instrument, so we know exactly where they are. They're not just thrown on there kind of willy-nilly. That's pretty much that entire pocket that was dedicated for the house and septic system and whatever else improvements they had originally.
So at the end of the day, what is the minimum separation between the ledge itself and the bed bottom?
3 feet.
Okay, so you'd have to have the 18 inches and then put another 18 on top of that.
Yep.
Okay.
And of that 18 inches, the original, you're probably taking out 6, 8 inches of force mat, loam, and undesirables.
His DES, have you ever seen DES waive the requirement for the 18 inches of natural soil?
I don't do a lot of tough systems like that, but I think it'd be very difficult to get that.
And what is the area of contiguous buildable land you need to put in a septic system? State requirement.
Well, that's, I don't think that really applies in this case. Just because those are subdivision regulations that we have here, but we're not looking at, this is an existing lot. I mean, they allow some fluctuation with that without nailing us down with it, but it has to be an existing lot of record, not a newly created lot.
When it was newly created in 2005, what was the square footage requirement?
It didn't matter for this, it would have been based on soil loading. We're taking out, anything that we can't include in that soil loading, so I'm not sure, 20,000 plus square feet probably.
Ballpark, 20,000 square feet.
Yeah, and then that depends on the group of the soil, what group, soil type it
So
is,
conservatively,
20,000 plus.
okay.
So,
An important part about this lot, though, is it wouldn't have required a state subdivision approval because the lot is 17 acres. And anything over 5 acres, they just assume you got plenty of land, and we do. We have,
Plenty of land,
we have plenty of land that is very buildable.
buildable.
so where it says in the town's regulations, Jacques, under 6.01 in the zoning ordinance, I'll just read it to you. So, yeah, I know you don't have it. It says, except as provided in Article 11 for non-conforming lots, no structure shall be constructed and no use shall be established on a lot having less buildable land area than the minimum amount indicated in Table 1 of the dimensional regulations, 6.07. Now, that's 2 acres, okay? So, but that's not the point. It says where the lot is not served by municipal sewer system and an on-site subsurface disposal system is required, the lot size shall not be less than the area required by NHDES services or as specified in the table of dimensional regulations, whichever is larger. So what would be the minimum there?
20,000.
The 20,000?
I would, if you're sizing the lot, yeah, I would say so, yeah,
But it has to be buildable land.
buildable land. And that there just isn't a receiving layer on that front area that's gonna qualify as buildable land.
Okay. All right, so next question for you. Do you think DES would give you a waiver?
For the separation ledge,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Would they have given you a waiver for less than 20,000 square feet?
I don't think we would have, if this lot had to apply for a state subdivision approval, this area, this particular front pocket, I don't think we get it.
Okay,
I don't think you get waivers for subdivision approval if you can't meet the requirements.
okay. But would they have waived the septic system, just for the septic system itself, those requirements for this lot?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Not in that area.
Okay. And on the timber harvesting plan in your packet of information that we sent you, that yellow area was carved out in the assessor's office by the former owner in a current use plan as unproductive land. That's where that rectangle came from and why that was put on that plan. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Jacques?
Not for Jacques.
Was there a test pit done where the septic was originally proposed in the 2005 plan?
Not that we've seen.
But did you do a test pit?
Did I personally? No, not, I'm
Yes, you
sorry.
did.
Right where it says septic, that would be right
You're
where that
talking,
one was.
you're talking the original application?
Yeah.
Back in 2005, no. No. I was brought in, like I said, just to help Morris finish out the presentation, the approval was already done by the time I was brought in. I helped him clean up his plan, cause the registry wasn't really accepting his plans, and, yeah, dress
But
it
he
up.
did do a
But his
test pit.
new test pits they did in October, the 12-inch
there.
one would have been right where the original septic was shown on the 2005 plan.
Thank you.
Okay, in all fairness too, when the plan was presented in 2005, and I don't think I mentioned this, Peter Schauer he's not a civil engineer or a surveyor, I don't think. I think he's more
He was
of a-
wetland and
Wetland
septic.
scientist.
That's
Yep.
what I recalled. Okay. Okay, so, thanks, John. I appreciate it. So S&H Land Services, Peter Stoddard is also a septic designer. He could not be here tonight, but he did provide a letter and did talk about the design of the septic system, the undisturbed natural soil, so it's in your record. But he's not here to ask a question.
Do we need to read it?
We have it.
You've read it, I thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess maybe we can have Aaron. Is Aaron here? I haven't met him. So Aaron did a report for Jacques, because I think, Aaron, you were there and witnessed the test pits also when he dug them that day in October? Yeah. Okay, all right, floor's yours.
October 25.
Yes.
October 25. Yep.
My name's Aaron Wexler, Aspen Environmental Consultants. As you mentioned, I was retained by Jacques Belanger on October 20th, 2025. I was asked to evaluate the area along the frontage of the property, determine if it was buildable based on current rules and regulations, and then provide a report summarizing. I did go out on the 21st of October to witness Jacques digging the test pits and did my own measurements for them. Same depths as what Jacques had on his plan. In addition to observing the pits, I reviewed all the plans and documents provided to me by Eli and Jacques Belanger, including the old subdivision plan and all the information that was available on what the proposed development was for that frontage. As far as I can tell, it doesn't, I mean, you have all the components there on that old plan, but it doesn't look like they accounted for, you know, the difficult situations that were found, and part of that would be if they didn't take a test pit. So as was mentioned, we had about an average depth of 12 inches to ledge. And as Jacques mentioned, because of the state regulations about amount of soil that's required to have for existing, we don't meet the state's definition for receiving layer. And that's the entire area along that frontage. In addition, as was also mentioned, we don't meet the buildable land definition for the town of Bow because we have less than 4 feet of cover. I did try, Jacques sent me the AutoCAD file of his survey, and you know, I'm a septic designer and wetland scientist, and I specialize in difficult sites. Almost all the septic designs I do are sites that somebody else has been to and either said they couldn't do it or it wasn't buildable. I tried about 5 or 6 different layouts for this site. I couldn't fit it. It was basically once you account for the extra grading that would be required. So even if you discount the state regulations for ledge, I just couldn't get everything to physically fit once you added that grading around it, around the leach field, septic tank, house, driveway, all that.
Meeting the grading would go right into the wetlands.
No, because we're trying to stay out of the wetland buffer as much as we can, we'd end up with grading going out into where the road is gonna be widened and into the right of way. And then also, in order to fit everything, we would need to go into the wetland buffer with the development as well. And that gets into another aspect of, there is a driveway plan that was approved by the Wetlands Bureau for their crossings to access the land out back. And I know there was the presentation of the logging plan. Whether it's for logging or recreational use, there's a really large lot, and regardless of where, you know, this house gets built, the driveway's most likely gonna go in. You know, there could be changes as to how that's laid out and as, you know, they go through the process with the town. But I don't see, you know, based on my past experiences, I can't imagine Bo is gonna say, no, you can't access your upland area. So if you consider that the driveway in some fashion is going to go in anyway, building out front wouldn't be allowed under the conditional use approval guidelines, because that would be an additional impact on top of the driveway. So by doing that, it's, what is it? Article 10.01 F2 E and E, which talks about minimizing impacts to the buffer. So if the driveway's already in, or is going to be going in, that's extra impact that they would need for the frontage. So we just can't, well, I wasn't able to figure out a way to get it all to fit. And I think as far as I can tell, it makes the most sense to build where it was originally proposed out back.
Just a point, Ms. Ponciata, I'm sorry about you, Pat, Pat.
That's fine.
Pat asked that we only look at the condition number 3.
Yep.
And not talk about the driveway. And there's gonna be other people here who wanna talk about the driveway. You're starting to talk about the driveway. I think we should stick to this, what Pat has tried to confine the discussion to, so that people who are on the other side of this debate honor that as well.
Do you think they would grant waivers at DES, Aaron, to allow a septic system to be put on the front there to accommodate a home?
No, I mean, the state is pretty good about working with people. You know, and they do issue a lot of waivers, but I've never seen them issue a waiver for that. You know, for those who don't know me, you know, I started right out of college working for DES. Part of my time there was with the Subsurface Bureau. And then I've been designing septic systems in the private sector for 19 years since leaving service at DES. But yeah, I've never seen that waiver granted.
Okay.
I have one question, can I ask? Are there, and this is for Aaron or even Jacques, whatever, are there no innovative technologies that could be used in this situation?
So, in the layouts that I was trying, I started out using EnviroSeptic, advanced EnviroSeptic. However, even using that doesn't get us away from the 18 inches, the natural soil requirement. And also when Presby Environmental was purchased by ADS, they redid their sizing. And the size for the EnviroSeptic fields was increased to about the same size as the ADS plastic chambers that they were selling. It was a fairly sizable increase for the time, and it hasn't changed since then. So I also tried using a product called Geomat, which is a much smaller footprint than EnviroSeptic is now. But we still have the same restrictions as far as, you know, we need at least 30 inches underneath, and we need 18 inches of natural. And again, even with the smaller footprint with the Geomat, I still wasn't able to get all the grading and all the configurations to work.
All right, thank you.
So,
Can I ask a question? So there's been a lot of speculation of whether or not DES would approve a waiver. Has anybody contacted them, and do they have it in writing that they would not approve a waiver?
You will never get that.
You'd have to,
You would have to
you
actually.
would have to submit an
It's not
application.
been
I've
available.
contacted them
Okay.
on several occasions, and they won't look at anything until the town
It's
of
submitted.
Bow approves it.
Yeah, that's.
Because you're a
Yeah,
pre-approved
we do a
town,
Pre-review.
I
and your
understand.
building
Okay.
inspector would not do anything either because of this situation.
I understand, thank you.
And I'm not a septic expert by any means. Are there different size septic tanks based on the size of a house? Or are they all like a standard septic size? So if you were to build a 1,500 square foot, would you be able to fit a septic tank for that size of house? Or were you looking at houses that were, you know, X square foot? Or does that not even matter?
There are different size septic tanks, however, it's based on the number of bedrooms that are in the house, and that's how the state does their sizing. I don't remember the exact date that the rules changed, but essentially, currently, anywhere from a 2 to 4 bedroom house, the septic tank size is the same. It's a 1,250 gallon tank is the minimum tank size. And then, you know, as you add bedrooms, there's a formula to use to figure
Is
out
that what you use?
how that size.
The 2 to 4 bedrooms? Or did you-
1,250 gallon tank is what I used. And there are some variations in size and configuration of tanks between manufacturers, but when you're in that small 1,250 gallon tank size, it's, you know, inches difference between manufacturers, so nothing, you know, getting the deepest and narrowest tank that I could possibly get isn't gonna be enough to make it work.
And no matter, even if it's a one-bedroom house, you still don't get separation to the ledge anyway. So it doesn't matter how big the leach field is or isn't, you can't
No,
get that.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, realistically, you know, I went through and found a lot of, you know, potential ways to explain how I didn't think this was gonna work. But ultimately, you know, as soon as we did the test pits and found very little soil over ledge, that was pretty much enough to say that we're not gonna be able to get this to work. I just wanna, you know, as everybody else involved, wanted to make sure we covered our bases and fully explained the extent.
Thank you.
So, I know Jock, I trust his work, very much so. So I believe that, based on that. But was there any exploration if, I think at the last meeting, it was Sandy, and correct me if I'm wrong, who said, you know, granting a CUP, this board would be very amenable to that. Was there any work done to say, if we were able to get a CUP to go into the wetland buffer, we would be able to build a septic field up front?
Yes, that's part of what I did.
I'm not sure I understand.
One has nothing to do with the other. You can't put a leach field on that property in that frontage area because there isn't an adequate receiving layer. We're outside the CUP criteria. Even if we graded into the buffer, into the wetland, there's still not enough natural soil in situ to put a leach field. So it's kind of moot, right? Like last time it was kind of moot.
Actually, let your professional explain that to us.
Right, so, there's a few different things as they were mentioning. So, yes, I did look at expanding into that area with a conditional use permit when I was working on configurations. I wanted to see first if I could fit it, and then if I couldn't fit it, how much further out would I need to go? And, you know, in order to get some kind of suitable configuration, we would have to expand into the buffer. However, you know, when you saw the plan, Jacques' plan that showed all the pits that we did, you know, there were pits done within that initial area, and then we also went out further. And even if we go, you know, almost up to the edge of the wetland, we still don't have that 18 inches of natural soil over ledge. So it's,
Okay, that answers my question.
yeah.
Do we have to accept this as complete, or is it already complete because we accepted it last?
Should do the whole process even though it's a repeat.
Do you wanna keep going, or should we start? Do you have other experts you wanna call?
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions for me?
I have
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Eli's telling me, Mr. Chairman, that there are a couple of people that are here that want to offer testimony. But they're not people that we brought in as experts. Do you mind if they can't stay late? Can we have them offer
So
their
if we
thoughts?
could, yeah, it's public
okay?
hearing, we will, if we can, once you're done, give us, and we get
You want
this
them
open
to
up to
wait?
public, yes.
Okay, so what they're gonna,
I mean, if I let some,
yeah,
of the public speaking,
they had to leave, so, okay, we'll wait. Okay, so now, who do we have next? I think we
so
have,
if you need to,
yes,
if we move on with some of this proceeding, and you still, further on want to have some other experts testify in this, you will be able to.
we could do that and let them, so they have a chance to at least address
I
the
would-
board.
We're gonna bring it back to the board and get, so you can have some of what we have.
Okay.
And it won't be your last opportunity.
Okay.
To, I'm gonna let everybody speak that needs to speak to.
Okay, we just didn't want to tie them up too late if they couldn't stay.
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Oh, actually, Ben, you'll be voting with us?
There's just a couple of abutters.
Opposed? No. So we've accepted as complete.
Yeah.
I think, this is the chair's call. I think we keep it to this condition.
Yes.
If we get past this, there will be a CUP process, and that will be a very long night if we get there. But I think tonight needs to be about, I wanna be very specific.
Reopening the
Removing the
application,
condition.
yes.
If anyone has a question about what that is, we can show you, but that is
Yes.
where I'd like to keep the focus tonight.
Absolutely.
I would agree.
So with
Okay,
that, I will open up the public hearing. I know you have some that
well,
need to
we just
leave.
have a couple of abutters
Okay.
that have to leave, so.
Just state your name and.
Sean Smar, I'm 10 Southbow Road. So I
We're right across the street.
Yeah, I bought the house across the street in September. I would stand in favor of removing that restriction because I don't really want to look into someone else's living room. So to have a little bit of space there would be nice. So I'd really appreciate kind of keeping that small town feel instead of being in like effectively a Manchester neighborhood. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was there somebody else?
Who else would like to?
This is applicable.
You don't have, I mean, you can just speak from there if you like.
All right, cool. Well, this works
Just
for
say
me.
your name.
So yeah, hey, I'm Jonathan, 57 Albin Road, and own that property. Here with my wife, Carolina. So mine's gonna be a lot less scientific because I just want to share 3 other perspectives that I think I view as relevant to removing this. So first, I want to share, my wife and I are both in our 20s, so I want to speak for the younger generation. Surveys show that most young adults believe they will have a worse life than their parents, and the primary reason for this is the housing crisis. New Hampshire now ranks 42nd out of 50 states for housing affordability. People like to blame greedy corporations, but one of the largest contributing factors to this is overly restrictive zoning that blocks the needed homes from construction. When supply is constrained, it overwhelms the market. Families are forced to compete for too few homes. This isn't just some TV news story. This has been affecting my friends personally. One friend of mine that was in the Concord education system, there just wasn't enough houses being built. He couldn't find anything, and so he had to relocate his whole family to Pennsylvania. I have another cousin of mine, or another cousin that's living with a wife and multiple kids, stuck in permanently renting a small apartment because the inventory is so limited. We're very fortunate that we were able to buy a home in Bow a couple years ago. But this generation, we're seeing it become a distant dream for so many young people. And so we think that these restrictions are going to further hurt this and bring this crisis even more to be a problem. And so we think that this town has a chance tonight and in the future to give this next generation some hope. Second, as a taxpayer, I ask you to approve this application. Spending thousands of dollars in legal fees to block a potential future homeowner and taxpayer isn't how I want to see this town's money used. Approving this lot adds value to the community rather than draining its resources. And then lastly, I ask you guys to approve this application as someone who grew up on this very land being discussed. I have no current financial connection or benefit from this decision, but I did grow up from second grade to middle school with my dad owning this lot that's being discussed here. We lived there with my grandparents, and it was a massive lot, so we weren't able to use all of it, but I have incredible memories of learning how to skate on that pond, learning to, we would go even swimming in there. Don't even ask about all the leeches that are in there. Oh my goodness. And so anyway, so many good memories. There's a little creek that goes off that. We would spend our summers there catching crawfish. There's some trails there that we'd walk that, my last memories of my grandfather were walking that together and us talking. But I don't say that all just to reminisce. If this was truly going to destroy the land and destroy nature, I'd be the first one up here trying to protest this. But I view this as a chance for another family to be able to enjoy the incredible memories, the lifetime memories that I made there. And so, that's why I would like you to, help Eli out here on this request. So just, again, as a representative of a struggling younger generation to find homes, as a concerned taxpayer, and as someone who wants to see another family be able to enjoy this land, I ask that you approve this.
Who else would like to comment on this?
Can I comment, sir? I created,
Could you just
some stuff.
state your name
I do
first?
not speak, my name is Sean Ray, and I reside at 101 Wood Hill Road on property document. I'm at 27 Block 3, Lot 30F. I lived on this property, which includes a very large portion of Grayler Pond, since August of 2000. I wish to provide the following comments and concerns to the board and the rehearing of the S3AK Trust request for modification. I first want to state that I don't think there's any reason there shouldn't be a house able to be built on the additional 14 acres on the second lot that was part of this H&I that we saw in the initial diagram they showed. There's plenty of room up there. However, since I was at all except for the last meeting in 2005, including the site walk, which is when everybody decided that we didn't need to get back together, which is why nobody came here for the meeting, was because Mr. Weitzel agreed to the note being added after we took the walk with Peter Schiff, who was the engineer, and the other people on the site.
This is back in 2005.
This is 2005, and it's this application. So I have some of the history here, but since she said it, I'm not going to repeat it.
Thank you.
But what I want to say is that at the April 2005 initial board meeting, the site walk was scheduled, and the area was walked by the board, abutters, and some additional public attendees, public attendees the following weekend. After the site walk, which was very wet and had large areas of standing water where the maps had shown no water, the town scheduled the follow-on meeting for June 2nd. I was going to attend this, and there were a number of issues, but after some conversation, the result was that, wait a minute, I attended this meeting. Initially, it sounded like the board would not be able to approve the conditional use permit without a modification of the proposal impacts to the wetlands from the walk. After some conversation, the result was that note 3 would be added, limiting the construction on the South Bow Road lot to between the wetlands area and the South Bow Road. The owner, David Weitzel, agreed to the addition of the note restriction for the approval so he could get the subdivision approved. So the whole reason is you can't get anything through there because of the wetland. All right? So my comment from there, so I have a section 4 here. It just says we're just revisiting this for the S3AK Trust. I don't have anything against any of these people. I came here in 2000. In 2003, I ended up on a wetland that the town told me I had to do all sorts of stuff. I have had to do so many things to my lot, and actually just this summer, I had to spend $2,500 to put a beaver deceiver in because I'm no longer able to manage my own beaver dam for the pond. So it's not that I'm against anybody, it's just the rules I have to live by are the rules we still need to go by. So there are a couple items that we've covered in the last couple meetings that I wanted to make sure that we're still mentioned here. And there was one that came up during a conversation and going through my letters from the Greylorn Pond and surrounding wetlands, including those being reviewed here, are wetlands defined by the Pennachuck Water Works as a source water protection area under the DES map. However, my understanding now is even though that letter says that and all this information I had from the Pennachuck folks because of the head, that might not be accurate. So I just want to make sure that somebody is aware that maybe that DES map has changed and that the wellheads and the water system of the pond and that wetlands may no longer be included in that. It was identified at the 2025 meeting that the Greylorn Pond area is within an endangered turtle species habitat. The disturbance of the wetlands would then be a major impact based on the endangered species rule.
So-
Now, we didn't,
We really want to,
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. There's reason.
We want to confine it to that.
It is, this is specifically for the note 3.
You made us stop?
Let's just hear them out, but we're trying to be fair here, certainly.
We've heard this before, in the last
Okay,
meeting.
okay.
Over and over.
Okay, can I read the last little paragraph? I just want to make sure that you have the whole thing. The application 50305 had the note 3 added in 2005, to my understanding, to provide the board the restrictions they felt were necessary to ensure the protection of the wetlands, but still permit the applicant, David Weitzel, an approval for the subdivision application. Under this consideration, removal of the note 3 and the associated restrictions would put the planning board in a position they were not willing to approve back in 2005 without the restriction. And I'll provide a copy.
There is a, just for full transparency, Mr. Jeffers of 103 Wood Hill wanted to submit a written statement. Because it is dealing with the wetland and the driveway and not with condition 3, I will decide not to read it. If we ever get to the CUP process, this is something we would fully accept. But as I said, in the interest of fairness, I've read it through, and it doesn't, in my opinion, deal with the condition 3, so we will not read it. I just want that on the record, because he did hand it to me, or to hand it to the board before the meeting.
Thank you.
And I just, also for the record, we received no other written comments in advance of the meeting.
Thank you, Terry.
anybody else from the public, comments they'd like to? Questions? Yes, sir.
Tom O'Donovan, Open Spaces in the Bow Drinking Water Protection Committee. The team here for the applicant has done a fantastic job of addressing many of the concerns that were expressed in previous sessions. So I just want to touch on a couple that are specific to condition number 3. For our younger member of the community here who described the importance of housing here, I want to make sure that we take just a minute to explain that, and I'm sure you are also, those who are on wells are drawing water from groundwater, and the groundwater protection that is so important. 95% of people in Bow draw from wells, so pretty much everybody in this room, and businesses draw from wells. So the wetland protection aspect of this, related to the driveway impact to that, and related to the house siting and the frontage of it relative to the driveway, is something that has to be understood very clearly. So let me give an example of that. When we did the bore sites, these new boreholes that were done in October, I don't see where we took the rough amount of driveway impacts to the wetlands and buffers and looked at that in terms of potential impacts to wetlands and buffers from the new site and did boreholes where they're there to see if the 18 inches of cover were there. It looks like from that diagram, we stopped all the boreholes short of there. So I'm not sure how we can specifically state that we can't get a design in there without having boreholes into an area that would reasonably be approved under a CUP with the same amount of impacts as the driveway, but less overall impacts to wetlands for the town of Bow. So I just offer that question that I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about that.
Sounds like a CUP related issue.
No,
Well,
I think Aaron addressed that, but
Well, no, he didn't address why there's no boreholes into the area in an equivalent footprint as the damages to the driveway would have been if we moved it over.
Wouldn't that be?
In other words, this is all
You
again,
can't put a septic in the buffer area.
I mean, that would be further into the buffer,
That'd
wouldn't it?
be right against the wetlands.
right, into the same
Put a
amount.
septic there.
Okay. Finish. It, I mean,
Let me make sure that the math here, I'm making myself clear, because some of this is not being clear. The driveway is proposing a substantial amount of buffer and wetland impact. Instead of doing that impact, you take that amount and apply it to the front of the site, just to see if that site is buildable with that same amount of impact. And I think you'd be very surprised to see just how large an area that turns out to be. That's the overall analysis I'm asking to see.
okay. I don't even know where I want to go here, but a driveway impacting a buffer or a septic system impacting a buffer, I would imagine is two different things. I mean, besides, you know, our bodily fluids we put down there, the cleaners and the chemicals and everything else that we put into a septic system, I think that would have a greater impact than an asphalt driveway going over the top of it with proper runoff and sides and built to spec. But,
Well, it's a gravel driveway,
I,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not a scientist, so I don't see that, but that's my thought of the difference.
that's the
of
question
two.
I'm asking is,
So
why
I
wasn't
wouldn't,
that analysis
and I
considered?
wouldn't expect them to go into the buffers because they're there for a reason.
Well, one of the plans that we have shows like I guess really the well radius as well, but test pits also. And, you know, it has some additional dimensions in that area that go into the buffer, so.
Okay, anybody else from the public comments? Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing. And if we need to, and there's more blue light comes up, I will reopen the public hearing.
Couple more people that have some stuff to offer you, if we could. Experts.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to just give a little bit of some of my, I'd like to hear from the board a little
Oh,
bit.
okay,
Where
Sure.
we're at.
sure.
A year ago, when we were here, and the applicant was the owner of the property that agreed to the subdivision, I find is a different thing. And going back to 2005, they agreed to this note, that was the thing that and it wasn't agreed to get it done. Really, what the planning board should have done was not allow the subdivision. That would have been, that's probably what should have happened, but to allow it and to satisfy the applicant, they had a compromise. And obviously, we're finding out now that that wasn't a very good compromise. As far as I see with this property, trying to squeeze a house in the front with a septic system on, you know, that's got 18 inches to ledge, that's wet, and, you know, I've heard water, you know, it doesn't make sense to me to put a septic there. And you know, that's my thoughts on it, and that it would be, you know, so basically, I feel that we're, you know, landlocking the buildable land, which is something that a land use board should not be doing. I don't know who, you know, if anybody else on the board has got comments or thoughts on it, I'd love to hear them.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead first.
I wish we had a lot of this information last year.
Yes.
And I'm not sure why these pits weren't dug
Because
last
it
year.
seemed so obvious.
Well,
It seemed
obviously
obvious
wasn't.
to us.
It wasn't,
Well,
but it seemed obvious.
He had a packet this thick. I don't think everyone read through it.
Actually, and I will add a little bit, you know, in last year, you know, one of the differences was the person that owned the land that agreed to it. And now you have bought it, and I hope you got a smoking deal on it. And I hope they lost their shirt and got a lot
Pat's
less,
gonna own it soon.
you know, because
Mr. Chairman?
that's the bigger part of the problem here, was the last owners and the 2005 planning board appeasing them. That's our biggest issues that we have here. But that did happen, and now somebody else owns the property, you know, so here we are.
So I was just starting, I wasn't done.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Have at it.
So I wish we had this information before. As I said, I've used Jock for my own property. trust him. To me, from what I've heard tonight, it sounds like the front is effectively unbuildable. Now, I'm not so sure about what happens if there's CUPs and everything listed. Where I'm at right now is that if it's unbuildable and mistakes were made on both sides, the landowner in 05 and the planning board perhaps should have done more due diligence at the time. Perhaps more so the landowner, but so be it. Given that, I'm of the mind to say, let's talk about the two competing plans that exist if that condition isn't there. There's something on the front that you could ask for a CUP and you'd impact wetland buffers. And there's something on the back that is the goal here. And there's a wetland impact for the driveway. And that, I believe, we're not gonna deal with that tonight because it wasn't submitted. But that would, to me, become the, something I'd love to weigh. If this condition was, if note 3 was lifted, then we could have perhaps a third party look at what would you do if you built on the front, what would the buffer impact be there? And then what would the impact to build the driveway which you're seeking to build
So I
back?
just wanna answer that, right? You just had 3 different people and you're gonna have 2 more come up and tell you you cannot put a leach field and a septic system in the front. The CUP issue is
Can't
moot.
do it.
There's no need to talk about a CUP difference in impacts. And 2 more wetland scientists are gonna come up and talk about the impact severity and the differences, but it's moot at the end of the day.
You
Because
can't
you
build
can't.
out there, period.
And
Doesn't
matter
the
what the
logging
impact
company already put in the driveway and the staging area. So it's already in existence, so there's no impact when we're gonna build a house.
The other question, and I have to ask this question, so forgive me if it comes off as perhaps snarky, because that's not the intent. I'd like to know, he's got a list of 10 years of CUPs. Many of them impact more wetland buffers than his proposed application. My question is, why are the 2 related, first of all? And where does it say anywhere that a planning board generally can say where that somebody gets to build on a 25-acre lot as long as they comply with the regulations?
Well, I think this whole thing just came from out of the condition that was on the plan.
We're not making this up. There's a condition on the plan.
That's not what she's asking.
No, that's not what I asked it.
She's asking-
Condition number 3, where is the authority that says that you can tell somebody they can't build at the back of their land?
There would have been authority.
He didn't agree to that.
No, there would have been authority to not do, what if the subdivision wasn't approved?
Okay, and that's another part about
And
the
that, that's what I'm curious, and I'm not 100%.
point.
I'm not 100%, before the subdivision, would there have been access through one of the other properties that was part of that? I'm pretty sure there would have been from Wood Hill that could have got to that land beforehand. And the problem is the planning board, instead of appeasing them with a rule, that number 3 piece on there, or a condition, they should have not approved it.
Okay, so as to the Wood Hill thing, okay, and this happened in this application, but it also happened back then, and it's in the planning board minutes, that the family, Mr. Waltzel, did approach all the abutters about getting access to the back land through an abutting property, and he got a big flat no.
The property you're talking about
Yeah.
on Wood Hill, Mr. Jeffers' property, there's the pond in between his
Is it,
property and our property.
I don't know, when this was,
There's no
when it
way-
was subdivided, I'm not sure.
There's no access.
There was still no access to that
access,
backup
I
land.
think that's why they did it.
Right.
And, no one's gonna, go ahead.
The other thing that I found pretty striking when I looked at the 2005 record was he had proposed it in that little pink area looking at the pond. Everybody likes the water view, I guess. And the other option, they moved to the front. Nobody ever raised the idea. He already had a wetland permit to make 2 crossings. Eli has one to make 3 to reach the backland. but back in 2005, they never even thought of it for some reason. I mean, why not?
I don't know, we don't have a time
I
machine.
don't
I can tell
know.
you why, but
Well,
just based on what I was told.
yeah, it's all hearsay though. And it's all a story of what happened 20 years ago, so we don't have any way to test that. But, you know, to your point about the subdivision not being approved at all, I hear what you're saying there. They could have said no, but
Well, that,
you
I mean,
could
that,
have built a house way in the back,
so,
like
I
he
mean, but
wants to do.
that's what led to that condition, was if you, you know, and then I don't know, you know, was it the landowners, you know, concession that I wanna do this, or was it a planning board that said, hey, if we do this, we'll approve it, and they, you know, I don't know which way that went.
Or the consultant that said,
Or the
well,
consultant
let's
that sits there.
try,
Yeah,
let's
that's-
try this.
I don't know, but we also heard that there was some background noise about neighbors fighting too, that I don't know anything about.
Regardless, that was in 2005, and we can, you know, look at a
Right.
million different things. Why didn't they, why did they, why?
Right,
But that is what happened, and that's what's there, you know, and now we're looking at this, and,
Yep.
and I agree that, you know, you can't build one in front, and
we can't put a septic there.
you can't put a septic.
But
there. You
to-
can't
you
put
know-
a septic, you
You're
can't put a
missing
house.
my point.
Maybe I
I'm
am.
saying if we remove the condition, then we have a discussion about where you can build on this land.
But you can't build in the front.
I think you're missing the point.
Well, what is the point?
I'm saying if the condition is removed,
Yeah.
this thing starts fresh,
Yeah.
and we take a fresh look at a piece of property
Yeah.
and where is appropriate to build on it. And because we are not in the business of getting people to not build on their land. We are in the business of making sure they follow the rules. And Pat, I know when you're making references about driveways, because you put it in your letter,
No, there's
about
other
my
ones.
driveway. And the
That-
difference is, I didn't have any note 3 on my lot. And I followed the very painful and expensive CUP thing. And so my point is, if we remove condition number 3, then it becomes a discussion about how a landowner can responsibly use their land.
The bigger issue was the one on the other side off of Wood Hill. I looked at that plan a long time ago. I haven't even looked at your plan.
Well, you mentioned it in a letter to this board.
Yes, we have, no, to your attorney.
That obviously is shared with the entire board.
Yes.
Well, but the bigger,
I think,
the
no, you
bigger,
asked to share with the board, Pat.
I did ask them to, and I didn't want to get into that because it's CUP. The bigger CUP with the greater impacts is right off of Wood Hill, almost right next to his property. And that went through, okay, I
Again,
think it was
because
the same
because there
meeting.
probably is no condition saying not. What I'm saying
Yeah,
is,
that-
if it's unbuildable, then it would be, that to me is inappropriate that the planning board put that in there.
But
Yes.
we're saying.
Yes. And-
yes.
and-
The answer is.
The answer's yes, the answer's yes.
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 All right, that's all I have to say.
In
I think that's all you should
2005.
have to say.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you.
Slow down the argument.
Not a
You're not
CUP today issue and not relevant to this.
He's not again.
But you're not in the business either of when somebody has lots approved to tell them exactly where they can build homes either. That's another part of this, like when somebody comes in and does like a 6-lot
So
subdivision.
Didn't the
we're,
landowner
we're,
come
we're a
up with
little
that condition
past, but
with
Yes.
over the last 3 months,
Yep.
we've been working on zoning amendment changes and adjustments.
Yep.
That's the time to come in and tell us, you know, what we're doing right and wrong on things. I don't know where you're heading with this,
No,
but.
what I'm saying is if somebody has a 6-lot subdivision, as long as they comply with the rules, the town's ordinances, they can put it in the lot wherever
Yes.
they want, right?
But putting it at the front was avoiding a wetland impact. That was the purpose
not true.
of that.
At all.
He had a
But it's-
wetland permit.
Just to add to what
But,
Kit
okay,
said,
from the state.
just
That's
what
the
Pat was trying
resource you're
to
protecting.
say.
Okay, but the fact is that
Okay,
the
the end,
town
the
has
end.
its own.
We don't need to continue about wetlands.
Yeah.
Okay,
We-
but the
what Pat
town
was
has
trying to
its
say-
own requirements,
Okay.
and there are times when the state has
I'll-
issued permits, and we have said no. So let's,
Right, and you're not allowed to do that. That's what she's trying to say. She's trying to say that condition number 3, the board in 2005 was not allowed to put that condition on the plan, and the court said that a planning board can't overrule a zoning board, and the lot is zoned for a certain use, which happens to be residential home. A planning board can't overstep that authority and put that condition on. So what Pat's trying to say is, it shouldn't have been put on in the first place.
that did, I don't know, it
Well-
didn't say that.
Like I
We're
said,
gonna get back to focusing, right?
yeah, we're gonna get back to, you know, the note
Right.
is on there
Mm-hmm.
from that planning board, and it was agreed to by all the parties, and that was,
It was put on after the public hearing closed. That was the first I ever heard of it. Mr. Shower didn't propose a condition
There's
three.
a whole paragraph in the minutes talking about it, though.
The condition,
No, where they're gonna propose the house. in the
that's fine.
front.
That didn't put the back off limits. I am gonna put it in the front, didn't have to have a condition saying you can't get a permit for anything else. That's the part that's the problem.
you're really starting to make this tough for us to remove this. No,
Okay,
I mean, really, I mean,
I'm gonna keep quiet. No, I was just clarifying.
so anyways, I would like to hear from the board if anybody else's thoughts on removing this or the fact of the difficulty of building in the front of this property.
I think they've proven that it's unbuildable in the frontage as they originally proposed where we've restricted them to. So it seems logical that we would remove the note because we have additional information we didn't have in 2005.
Correct. In fairness.
So you have new information
And
and
we
we
didn't have
appreciate you
when
bringing
they
it to
first
us,
came in
you know, so-
2025.
That's why I said I love this information
Yes.
last year.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. I don't think it's.
But what's done is done. We're here now.
Right.
I'm gonna make a motion to remove the condition from the plan. Second.
All those in favor?
Have any more discussion before you vote, or just move right into a vote?
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to say about this before? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
List of conditions that we have information now that we didn't have in 2005, 2006.
Findings.
Sorry, findings, fact,
Yeah.
we didn't have in 2025. That it has now been proven by, in my view, multiple experts who are people that we see in front of this town giving valid testimony that this is an unbuildable lot and,
Well, the front is.
I'm sorry, that the
So unbuildable road with
the
that restriction.
front that is restricted by note number 3 is not buildable.
Can you
And
dig into the specifics of that? I think it's specifically the depth that
The depth of the topsoil is.
depth to bedrock,
The bed to bedrock is not sufficient for a septic system.
even if they were to impact the wetland buffer in that area.
right.
So,
And looked at all different sized houses.
Look at this teamwork.
so I would say is Jack Crisp is so moved.
And there was, it should go on record that there were no changes to wetland buffers since 2005.
No changes to the wetland buffer regulation.
Is that relevant to this
Regulations since
discussion?
2005.
It's not relevant to this discussion, right?
Eli,
Okay,
don't look at Gift Horse in the mouth.
I'm trying, man, I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Well, it's in the order,
Yeah.
so
It
I
is.
wanted to make sure that
You can
it was on
contact the
record.
court if you need that corrected.
So that,
It
so
doesn't
that is my
it's okay.
motion of finding the facts.
I will
Second.
second that.
All those in favor of the
Findings of,
findings of fact?
aye.
Aye.
I'll make a,
Opposed?
ayes have it. I'm gonna make a point of privilege on this, because the person who's doing this is either in this room or listening. As an elected official, I expect to be attacked. But I would really appreciate if someone would remove a picture of my 5-year-old son from your hack page. That is disgusting, what is happening to try and do this. Because someone in this room is doing it, or someone listening. And I think you have to have the decency of a human being. Attack me as an elected official, but to bring a 5-year-old boy into your photos is a stain on this community. And that's all I'll say.
We don't use Facebook. We're not online.
I'm not saying
Okay.
it's you.
We didn't say it was
Someone-
you.
It's unfortunate.
Someone delivered it.
I'll tell
That
you,
is out of line.
I'll tell you some, you know, on the record. We must have spoken to 200 people, at least, including 2 state house reps, 2 senators, a slew of people from the Bow Pioneers Snow Machine Club.
You have no idea how much money we've spent. You
I'll
have
tell you
no
what,
idea
I was
the
gonna say,
impact on our
There's a lot of
family.
people that don't like you specifically for some reason, and don't like you specifically
You're disgusted.
because, and I mean, I understand, I don't even know you, but I understand why they don't like you. So they'll explain it to me and yelled at me for 20 minutes about it, and I imagine you don't have a big fan club here in Bow.
Excuse me?
I said, you don't have a big fan club?
Sorry.
What I
Yeah,
spoke-
yeah.
people I spoke to.
They
this is
don't,
not
they don't wanna
necessary.
hear the facts.
I'm just
Sorry.
letting you know, we spoke to a lot of
Yeah,
people.
I
You don't
don't,
need to slander the board.
I don't
Right,
care.
but I think my wife said we don't appreciate the insinuation.
I'm not saying it's you.
Whoever you're saying it to, and
Someone,
what I'm telling you is,
it's
we brought
in
this to light.
your 200 people that you talked to.
Maybe
that-
tell them
that-
to
that are
cut
enough,
it out.
which I'm sure is watching and needed to hear it.
have no time
And that's
to
why I started mine, or maybe they're here in the room.
I think it's
We
just
don't know
kinda-
that. We're not putting,
Not pointing fingers, but
you know,
somebody's
but it's wrong.
Media,
responsible.
we don't do that.
Social media is
Okay.
wild. I hate it.
That,
But even if I,
I'm not
whatever was
pointing a
done
finger.
is protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution, right?
Yeah, but
There's also decency.
It is.
there is.
I agree, yes. but-
You know,
And get
and like I
somebody's
said,
kid
you know,
not having
when you
any
see all this stuff in our federal politics and politicians,
any decency. You just criticized a person saying they didn't have any
What I
fans.
was told.
Then perhaps you're not talking to the right people, because I am a huge fan of this woman, all right? And she's done a ton for this community, so enough is enough. Stop slandering people, okay?
Just communicating what I was told.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
well,
emotion here.
Somebody who's,
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, let's,
Thank
minutes.
you very much, right?
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 8th, 2026.
I'll second, I don't have any changes.
All right, all those in favor?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Did you say that a little louder?
I don't.
You don't have to
It's just, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hey, this. Please move on.
That what you just said out loud?
Oh, my God.
No, it's not. The spike, that, we know exactly what the spike is. He says he's gonna blow up the beaver dam as soon as he gets the property. I mean, if that's a comment,
It's on my property.
yeah, it is your property now, right? Last year it wasn't.
Right. You wanna be friends with your neighbors?
We're still streaming, we're still going.
We haven't, yeah, we have not adjourned. I'm not quite sure where Kip went.
Sorry. A lot of emotion pent up here.
In the controversy, but tonight, I don't quite
Should be a
understand
happy.
it.
Provided a copy of that. Does that go in the record?
Yeah, if Dawn got it, she'll put it in the record. Thank you.
So I only had one question about the process. So the next phase now, so is that application approved without the thing on it?
No, nothing is, the only thing that's happened now is the condition of the 2005 subdivision has been removed.
Yeah.
Now they're at, starting at square one to develop the lot.
Right, so a new application has to be filed?
Yes.
Yeah,
For the
everything.
wetland
Conditional use
CUP.
permit.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
You guys.
Ask him to come back.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
We have to close it out.
Can we close it out?
yeah, we can, I mean, do we have any other?
I'm gonna get
And we didn't have to do like regional impact or anything. We're supposed to do those.
It's removing a condition.
Yeah.
Necessary.
But I was gonna say, it was like, it's the end.
So, yeah, I think, do we have any other business we need to do?
I don't believe so.
Entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That's the way.
Is anybody gonna second it? Let's
I'll
keep
second
it
it.
going.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.